In today's video, I am going to be breaking down 5 amazing defenses that you can use that are absolutely killer and deadly in youth basketball. So let's get down and let's check these out. But really quickly, make sure to go check out my Deadly Defensive Strategies book that is down in the description below. I've also got a lot of different defensive strategies down there as well, so definitely go check those out. Now let's get down, let's check out these deadly strategies. So first on my top 5 list is the 1-3-1 half-court trap. And there's a lot of teams that make a lot of massive mistakes against this zone, and this is a go-to for every team that I am a head coach on. So basically, player 1 needs to overplay the side, whether it be forcing the player to go left or forcing the player to go right. His goal is to get them somewhere towards the sideline. Basically, his goal is to trap on either sideline. Depending on where he wants to force that player, he needs to get them to the sideline. Meanwhile, player 3, his goal is to trap either up top or down low on this zone. Player 2 needs to trap the baseline and sideline corner, and player 4 needs to trap either the top or the bottom, somewhere along there. Either way, these corners need to be trapped, and that is the goal. That is where we want the ball to go. If, for example, we were lucky enough to get this ball trapped or moved towards the sideline, we would want player 1 and 4 to trap. I would want player 2 to drop. I would want player 5 to drop. And I want player 3 to kind of play around here. He needs to kind of judge where he needs to go. He needs to be the first one to drop if the ball gets to the baseline. He's got a lot of running that he needs to do. I would prefer him closer to the top in this case because the ball's up here so that he can pick off any cross-court passes. If instead, so let's put these players back to where they were. If instead the ball goes to this side, I would want player 3 to trap, player 1 to trap, and I would like to have player 2 move out to this side to intercept any passes going over here. I would want player 5 to drop and player 4 to cover that middle. I know not everyone runs this zone this way, but that's how I like to run it. Now, if this ball gets to that corner, I would want player 2 to drop, player 3 to drop as early as possible, and if that's not the case, I would want player 2 to force the ball baseline. Now, while that may be happening, if we can get player 4 to drop fast enough, then in this case, this trap can work. We would just drop everybody and kind of hope for the best. However, I really don't like to have the ball go baseline, especially in a 1-3-1 trap. What I would prefer is for player 2 to keep that ball away from the baseline, force him to go up the sideline so that when player 3 drops, then we can force that trap. I would rather a trap be in the corner myself than to have a trap here because there's a lot of passing angles out of this trap. There's not many passing angles out of the trap here. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole idea of how to beat this. I've posted a ton of videos on that already. Now, an interesting strategy that I've found that works with younger teams is a triangle and 2, but this is kind of not your usual triangle and 2. Now, I'm not going to get massively into the way I like to run this zone. However, it is in my Deadly Defensive Strategies that I love to run, which is you can purchase down in the description below. But the gist of this zone is I've got my triangle, and I want player 2 to guard this half of the court, and I've got player 1 who guards this half of the court. The idea there is you've got some man-on-man concepts, but at the same time, you're still running a zone. This is a great zone to be able to put some pressure onto a younger team. If you are coaching younger teams, obviously, before you run a zone, I want to tell you, and I break this down in my Deadly Defensive Strategies book, you need to teach man-to-man first, and I do go into teaching the man-to-man defense in my Deadly Defensive Strategies book, so definitely go check that out. That is down in the description below. This is a strategy that I've used a few times. However, this is a 2-3 zone, and before you say, oh, it's a 2-3 zone, it's easy to break, let me explain to you why this one is not easy to break. This is a 2-3 zone that I only bring out when the other team can't shoot. Or if the other team only has one good shooter, I've got a different strategy that I run that's very similar to this. But if the other team has a complete full team of non-shooters, guys who need to be wide open to be able to have an even slight chance of making a shot, this is my go-to. I literally have ran this an entire game. I have gone up against a team that is like 7 divisions higher than my team was a few years ago. And we beat them by 20 because I watched their games. I almost said recruited. I scouted their games for a long time. I watched them like 5 times. And one thing that I noticed was they didn't take any threes. The entire game, out of like 4 or 5 games, they took 1 3. And I thought to myself, there has to be a reason. They probably can't shoot it. So when I play them, I'm just going to force them to shoot threes all game long. And this is what I call my tight 2-3. This is a last resort. This is a, we're playing a good team, but y'all can't shoot. And I basically say I want nobody within 3 feet of that 3-point line. I do not want any drive angles. I just want them to shoot threes. And most teams will set up in their 5-out offense, which I love the 5-out. Everyone uses it. You can get the complete guide down in the description. However, what's the one thing that a non-shooting team does when they face a tight 2-3? They pass the ball around, they sometimes get travel calls, and they don't know what to do. They may run their offense, they may say, horns, 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 horns. Well, horns doesn't work against a tight 2-3, so, okay, right? Okay, well, the middle's open. Well, if we've closed it early, well now, okay, well, you can kick it out. Well, he's got 3 feet to move. Okay, well, I got to drive here. Okay, well, now I'm here. Now we've trapped you. Now we're sinking down deeper. And that's just basically the only strategy, and that is to close the gaps as fast as possible and do not go anywhere close to the 3-point line. If you are allowed to run a zone, it doesn't matter the age. In Canada, you 11 and up can run a zone, and which means that 10-year-olds are running zones. If you're going up against a team that can't shoot, this is literally going to be one of the lowest scoring games you've ever played, and you will not have them score a single basket. Now, if you did face a team that had one good shooter, this is what I used to call Killer 1. Killer 1 now is my 1-3-1, but you've got basically the same idea as a 2-3 zone, but instead it's a 1-3 zone. You have this guy chasing the ball, or you can have him chasing a single player. So instead of running a box and 1, you can run a 1-3, which is pesky because the issue with a box and 1 is sometimes the middle is wide open. You can get some passes into cutters. This doesn't allow that to happen. So you are basically cutting off the entire key to anybody trying to drive. If you can keep that 1-3 tight inside the 3-point line and they don't extend themselves out, and you've got that one guy who's either chasing the ball, just trying to be a pest, which is great. It's a fantastic strategy. I've ran this against teams. I've ran this in gold medal games. I've ran this a ton. And basically you just have one guy full court, man-to-man on whoever has the ball, or full court on the shooter, or whoever it is, or whatever it is, and you just have a tight 1-3. I ran this year in U12 every once in a while. Every time we were down by a ton, I would pull it out, and it would literally freeze the other team for at least a quarter trying to figure it out. So this is a great strategy to be able to run. Now, I've gone over 4 strategies so far. The 5th strategy is going to be 2 defenses in 1, but this had to make my top 5 because it has won me gold medal games. It has won me a ton of games. One out of the 2 strategies, I've gotten reviews from people winning literally professional games with the defense. I've seen the Milwaukee Bucks use my unbeatable defense. I've got videos on it. It's on my channel. You can search it up. And A lot of people use it. So the Unbeatable Basketball Zone Defense book, which is down in the description below, the idea is you can trap the corners, you can double the low post on both sides, and then you can trap the corner once again, and then everything above the free throw line is single coverage. So if you are going up against a team that likes to shoot corner threes, that likes to be able to pass that ball around to try to beat a zone, this is the type of zone that works extremely well against those teams. Because what is the one thing that teams teach? When you are playing a zone, you do a lot of passing. That gets killed with this zone. So if you want to beat teams by a ton who run a traditional zone offense, get that book, run that defense. It's going to help you a ton. The other one that I like to run is the perimeter defense, which is a double team. No matter where you are on the perimeter, you can even run this as a half-court trap, which I did this year with my younger team, and it's absolutely deadly. And that's called the perimeter defense. It's down there as well. Everything down here is single coverage, so if you're playing against a team that's maybe a bit bigger, you may not want to run the perimeter defense book or defense strategy against them. However, that would be more for the unbeatable defense. If you were playing against a bigger team, you would definitely want to hurt them with that unbeatable basketball zone defense. Anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. I hope that these strategies help your team win more games. If they do, hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you guys again in my next video.